Good morning. It is Wednesday and we're going to jump in with purple, and I've just stood on a pop dot that's now stuck to my toe. Whoops. Okay. Hazard of the job. Right. I think I can cope now. How are we all this morning? Hello to those of you who are here live. We've got Sophia, Christina, Kirsty, China Girl, Sherry, and Autumn, and a few others who are here but just not talking. And yep, I'm totally getting the pop dots off me. Whoops. But it's purple. So shall we have a look at what we've got planned for today? So a purple and green combination, but with a little something else added in. And I want to share one of my favorite page designs for just kind of embracing embellishment and color. Yeah, here we go. How many pop dots could there be? Okay, so we have something circular, circle punches, circle dies, something to trace that's circular, something to do with circles. Today's layout involves circles. Now, this sheet is in here not for all of this, but for the green element. So sometimes you look at something that has lots of different colors and indeed has a theme, but certain pieces will be really useful. So if we look just at the green here, I've got a border strip, I've got chevrons, quotation marks, brackets, arrow, triangle. Could even use something like this if I was covering up the center. So don't overlook things like that. It is one of those things where you then have to think, how do I store my stuff so that I can find things like that? Because how would you sort that if you sorted by color? Would you cut it apart? But then what if you want to use that collection? That's really difficult. So this is one of those times when I think that reviewing your stash is a really useful step. So I've got this turquoise, and I've got 2 greens, and I've got purple. So I have in here, whoop, boop, 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 2 single tone purples. That actually has purple on the other side too. The other one does not. The other one is a Halloween print with bats, but I want the purple stars. And then I've got a black floral, which is a bit of a rare find in the scrapbooking world. And so when they come out, I tend to get more than one because I really like them. I love a dark background with a floral on the top. Yes. So this is what I've got, plus a bunch of embellishments and things here, and one photo, which has indeed a whole bunch of purple and green in the picture. And purple and green, definitely a Buzz Lightyear color combination, but you don't need to be scrapping Buzz Lightyear for it to work. It is just a really beautiful color combination. And as an aside, I would say anytime you see something in an animated film and you look at the screen and you go, oh, that's a beautiful picture, then you've got a color scheme right there in front of you that's really going to work. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's absolutely merit in taking color schemes from things like a piece of art or a screen cap in a film or anything like that can give you a color scheme, and then you can work with those colors. So let's have a little draw out of what I'm going to do today. And if you've been around a long time, you may have seen me use this page format before. I've done it a few times. Well, in fact, my sparkly friend even did it once. Because I do really love this style of embellishment. So we start with something that I do all the time. Divide your page 1/3, 2/3. Today I'm going horizontal. You can, of course, do it on the vertical if you prefer. This top third of the page is going to be nothing but embellishment. If you want to tuck some words in there and call that journaling, you can, but I'm going to have dedicated journaling space in the bottom part of the page. And this is going to all be just fun embellishment. Color, color, color to set the tone. I've got a landscape photo, and it's got a direction going that way. So I'm going to put it on this side so that he is looking into the page and not out of it. There you go. That's the photo. Yeah. Journaling space is going to go next to it. Journal here. Okay. But I've got all this embellishment that's up here. One, I'm going to do some sort of border along this edge. And then I don't want this to feel completely disconnected from that. Ah! Okay, so here's what we do. This is circle embellishment. Now, would this be the same tactic if I used a paper with a circle pattern to it? Yes. Would it be quicker? Yes. Would it be as fun if you were really wanting to use a bunch of embellishments? No. But you can take this sketch in either of those directions. Okay? So this is a bit of embellishment that is all filled with circular things. And we're going to layer up all sorts of different pieces to fill this space. Now, in order to get that to feel like it goes with this, I need to bring that down here. So I'm going to put my title here. And I'm going to try to incorporate a few dots there, circle pieces, and a few here. Then, once I've done, all the pieces that are going to go with this, it'll probably have some tabs. I may also want to put in little circles around here, but that is a last, like you've built everything else and then you decide. And you can decide it based on both how will the page look and what stash do I have left? Because this is going to bust through lots of embellishments. Or you can use pattern paper scraps, all sorts. Okay, right, so I'll bring that up here. Also, I've been painting kitchen cupboards, so I'm sorry, well, I've been painting the bit behind the kitchen cupboard. So first, my hands this week looked rough from sanding. Now they look rough from painting. Hey, my hands are still working, so I have no complaint. But I know I do try to keep them a little more presentable on video than they are right now. So I appreciate your patience with that. There we go. So if you want to screen cap that, there's my sketch. Okay. And let's have a quick look to see if there are any questions that need answering before we start. For those of you who are here live, remember if you want to ask a question to make sure I don't miss it and make sure I address it specifically, if you start your comment with question in all capital letters, I will make sure that I scroll back and forth to catch any of those before we go. And then purple questions. Okay, so we've got a couple questions that were left earlier. So one of them is about the light fastness of purple, and I am going to talk about that, yes. And another one about how do you define purple, because we have violet, we have purple, we have indigo, we have periwinkle, we have all these different options. Okay, so we will we'll do that. And I do show lots of different purples in the ink sampling. Yes, so we're covered there. And then Joanna, it says, do you think there are any colors that purple does not work with? That's a really good question, because the one that most people might bring to mind straight away is red. But it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily the case. There are certainly times when purple and red look very bold and almost royal together. And I had a friend growing up who, like, purple and red was her signature color combination, and it always worked for her. And there's that poem about wearing a purple dress and a red hat that doesn't match, whichever way it is around. A poem called Warning. If you're, I don't know it off by heart, and now I've referenced it without having it in front of me. Oh goodness! But you may or may not know the one I mean about people, a lady wanting to get old and have the excuse to just wear colors that don't go together. But actually, when you see somebody do purple and red with a bit of flair, it can work. So there's not a color that immediately makes me go, oh, they don't go together. I'm not hugely keen on purple with brown, but, you know, there's a time for everything. And like a wine colory purple can go with brown. So yeah, we'll talk some more about that as we go, I think. I think all of those will get answered, no problem. All right, a quick couple things from the comments, and then I'll start cutting and gluing. Christina got the live to work for her this week, and it didn't last week. I'm so sorry that it didn't work last time. I'm really glad that it's working now. Fabulous. But she also says this class has helped her figure out what she has in her stash by color and then what she's missing. Yes, sometimes we have to kind of take stock, and I find, because there are certain things that there are certain things that I will, where am I trying to go with this? There are certain things that when I buy them, I will use them very quickly, and then I'll feel like I have it in my stash, but I don't, because I used it probably straight out of the box. And orange pattern papers tend to be that thing for me because there are so few, but I also have trouble with purple. Purple doesn't appear in as many collections. It is very hard to get an accurate color match and to get it to not be the color that fades in any sort of light. So it doesn't appear as often, and that started at the beginning. Also, purple is a color that people have real feelings about. And when I worked at trade shows, I would have some shops, buyers for shops, just say, no, I don't look at anything that's purple, just point blank. So I think that does contribute to it being harder to find in the industry. But it does appear more and more in Halloween collections. So you can get something like this where it's actually a Halloween collection, but there's a purple B-side, and you can take that out and use it year-round. And also, it's worth noting that Bella Boulevard seems to really enjoy a purple. So all of their B-side collections and stuff where they have this kind of print, they call Bella Besties, they have a purple in there. And they always do a purple whenever they do like a rainbow of different things, like, you know, letter stickers by color or embellishments by color. They always do a purple. So that is good to know. And also, as it goes, I have a half sheet of this that's been sat to the left of my desk, which does get sunlight, for many months, because I'm like that, and it hasn't faded. In fact, let me pull it out next to this one and let's just double check. This has been in the sun. No, it's not faded at all. This was where it was about like that, sticking out of the box. It's been there for ages. It's fine. That's good to know. Yay! Some of my earliest purple pages, however, are now lavender. And I did a lot of purple pages when I first started scrapbooking because my high school colors were purple and gold. Okay, so first step I need to do is choose which one of these is going to be the background so that I don't cut too much of that. So I think if I start with this one, I think that, yeah, this is going to be my 2/3 piece here. And today I am going to go ahead and mat all of this onto a sheet of white so that I can use a bit of the third that I chop off. Okay, don't always do that, but today I am. Kirsty points out that if you're scrapping things from this weekend in the UK with the Jubilee, the purple will probably work really well. Probably purple and silver. Yeah, it'll be very fancy indeed. Okay. So if we start with a white background, noticed something really strange. My most recent pack of Basil cardstock, the printing is on the opposite side from all of the other packs I've had. Strange. I don't know if that's a new thing or just one of those things that happens every once in a while. I have no idea. Okay. Sophia says she thinks this sketch would work really well with detail cut shapes or florals as well. Yes, totally. All right. So I want 2/3 of my page to be this purple one. So I'm going to cut that to 8. And then I'm going to take off just a tiny bit. So that I have the smallest white frame around the outside. Sorry, my adhesive decided to hide from me. There it is. So then come down to that bottom corner and make that even on the 3 sides. That's not even or straight, Shimelle. Try again. Try again. Just turn it sometimes. Sometimes you need to just a reset. Okay, that looks better. All right. Oh, that's a good question. Larson says, do you always make a sketch before you scrap, or is it only because of us that you make, us making you watch, us watching you make the pages? Sorry, I apparently can't read yet today. More coffee. Do you always make a sketch before you scrap, or is it just because you're watching me make the page? So making it on paper like this is most definitely to help you. I do, however, make a mental image like this, but I don't always need to write it down. And sometimes it might be a little bit more fluid than what I do once I've committed it to paper. But I've always had feedback that when I do draw it, it makes a lot more sense for people watching, and that that it's more useful. Please don't feel that if you don't do this as part of your process that you are in some way failing, because you absolutely are not. You are all good. Okay? Right. So now up here. So I could put it straight on white, but I don't want to. I want to have color across that top bit. But I want it to be something that's pretty, pretty, oh, I thought that was a dot on both sides and just reverse, but it's not. It says right there, plaids and dotty. So, oh, I have 2 green plaids. So I'm going to do that green, wood grain across the top. So that one was 8. That would mean this one is 4, but I want that little border. So I need to go a little less than 4. Probably should have checked that size before I put the adhesive on. It's okay. It's almost okay. Tiny bit out. Oh, let's take the tiniest little bit off here. Tiniest. Okay. Now, there's going to be a border sticker along this edge, but I'm going to put the circle embellishments on here first, and the border sticker comes at the end, so that any little pieces that come right down to this edge get covered up nice and simply with that border sticker. Okay, I tell you that so that you don't let me forget that I have that border sticker. Now, I've got these different patterns, and I'm going to cut them into my larger circles first. And then, but I'll fill up the die cutting space with smaller ones too. So here we go. Now I don't need to go all the way out to these, but I think these are all useful. All right. I've just had a moment of terror because I don't see the clear piece, but hopefully it's there. We sort it out. Okay, so I want to use the dotty side for this. Oh, I don't even need to cut. I don't need to cut it at all. Okay. So then arrange your dies so that you can cut a whole bunch of circles in one go. Yeah? Okay. So we run that through the die cutter, which is here. And where's that clear piece hiding? Oh my goodness, I hate clear products. Why do you do this to me, industry? I know I need to see through it, but also I can't see where it is. Oh, this is a terrifying moment. Right, where are you hiding? How come everything else could be right in the right spot, but the clear one would disappear? Oh, don't terrify me like this. Okay. Do I have an extra in the cupboard? Oh, this is horrible. Okay. Is there any chance that these two together would make it work? Because of course now I've just panicked. I'm gonna try. Does this sandwich work? We're gonna see if it cuts. Did it cut? It's like, will it blend? Did it go all the way through? Not quite, but I think a second go will do it. We're gonna make this work. Because I'm not gonna panic about not seeing it, because then I'll just continue to panic more rather than see what's right in front of my face. It's okay. Right. Thank you for bearing with me. So I just need something else to put in there. Let's put something like that. See if that's enough. I think it probably is. Even my die cutter is covered in sawdust. Oh no. I'm at that point, sorry to be off topic, but at that point with the sawdust where there's no sense in taking it all off things like that because it's just going to be more. Oh, I'm so close. It's cut through partially. Okay. I'm not going to make you struggle. Watch this. Struggle watch? Is that a thing? So that's the concept. Let's see how many of these went all the way through. Boop, boop, boop. Because I can also punch, so it's okay. Here we go. It worked. It worked. I hope that was not too anxiety-inducing for anyone watching. Do you know that feeling, though? That once you realize something is missing, you're like, I can't see what's in front of my face. In fact, my husband did it this morning, so it's not just me. He said, I can't find this thing, and I went downstairs, and there it was, straight in front of him. He was looking right at it. But once you're convinced that you can't see it, you can't see it. Okay. Interesting to know that that worked. Just what things could I find to put through? It'll work. Okay. So we're going to take those to start. And place them in different points. Yeah. So this is how the embellishment concept works. I'm going to grab a circle punch to do a few more really quickly. So, now with this, I want to get the purple and the green, preferably, into my circles. There's one. Trying to find good spots near the edges, but sometimes you might want to just cut in. Okay. Oh, and that one has a purple B side too. So let's use some of that. Yep. Okay, so if I put the ones that I've already used over there, then I can see quickly what I have left. All right, so let's do all the different sizes in this green. One, two, three. Oh, sorry, I'm off the screen. 4, 5. Okay. Some days you need a bigger desk. Wait, does that just mean that I should not stack everything up? My desk could feel bigger. Nope, I was just pulling the top through. Let's try that one more time. And I can arrange these, and I always find it easiest to start with the big pieces. That one's coming down here. Remember, all the things that go off the edges are going to be cut, so don't need to worry about that at all. Okay, leave that one because some of them will overlap. So sometimes you do want to leave them. Right. Melinda says, what die cutting machine are you using? I have a We Are Memory Keepers die cutter, which is called the Revolution. Now, once you've got quite a few big ones on there, you'll want to move to having more small pieces, because I'm not going to fit more big circles. Yeah. So then I can come down to just the smaller size, but then cut it more than once. oh, that's a mess coming out this side, but it's working, so it's fine. But yeah, that's not exactly how it's advertised. It's all right. Okay, so I'm going to take those 3 small ones and then cut the 3 small ones again because I'm going to need smaller pieces both to fill the empty spaces and to layer up on top. So I'm going to cut the exact same 3 sizes one more time. I do like that this die cutter comes with a magnetic base, but you can also, if you have a different brand, you can buy a magnetic plate and put it in another machine. Yeah. So it's magnetic self-healing mat essentially, and that so dusty. I will be very happy when my house is not a dust factory today. But we'll get there. Nope. Try again. Yeah, it should just have one clear block over the top. So I'm totally doing it wrong, but it's working. We'll see. Don't worry, we're almost done cutting these things. In fact, the die cutting machine might be saying, no, you're done now. I'm going to give this one more go. Maybe I just didn't line everything up. There it goes. All right, so I've got quite a few different circles now where we can start building. Put all the dies back in their spot so none get lost and none scratch things up. Put that back there so I don't lose anything else, and we're good to go. Okay, so let's start by giving some of these a nice straight edge, boop, to go ahead and stick them along that line. Yeah, so we're going to make a pattern here, which is essentially doing the job of designing an edge-to-edge pattern paper. So when you design a pattern paper, you usually have a design that's what we call full bleed. It goes all the way off the page and then you chomp the paper into its places, and that pattern goes all the way to the edge. Sometimes you have a design that's centered in the middle, but it's by far more common to have these patterns that go all the way out. So when you're designing that, it means that you always have things going off the edge because otherwise it would look very odd if we did a pattern paper where everything stayed inside. And in fact, there's one pattern paper I did in a collection where everything did stay inside. And I kept going, no, I don't like it. It needs to go over the edges. And in the end, I lost the vote. They were like, no, all of your patterns go all the way to the edge. You need to have some variety and have one that stays inside. And I was like, do I really? Do I really? So this is definitely the style that I prefer personally. But I always think that if you're building something like this, then it feels like it's meant to be. A bit like how I like to ink all of my edges. to have them feel like they were meant to be that size. Same sort of thing. Take edge off this one. Bring that down here. That could actually come down a little more so it's not so level with that one. Don't be afraid to take stuff off. So I want, you know, some space in between them all at this point. Not overlapping. I want that green to show through. Ah, Christina doesn't have a die cutter because she knows herself well. She doesn't have a die cutter because she doesn't like cuts in surfaces. She doesn't like the aesthetic of having to work with a plate that has lots of cuts in it. That's a great bit of self-awareness that you know it would drive you mad, so you just avoid it. That's brilliant. Right. So I need kind of a medium-sized piece in here. And that might be a whole circle. All of these I've cut so far, but sometimes you can get a whole circle to fit. Now the reason that I start sticking at about this stage is that I was vaguely putting them on there and I could tell that I had enough to kind of fill the space. And I didn't need to figure out exactly where they were going to go. I just needed to know what would vaguely fill it up. And then once I get, you know, all of these on here, I can see if I need to get anything else. Now sometimes you can use both sides of the circle that you've just cut. So I can take this one, which was one of these, and bring it, oh, it needs to come down even more than that. Just tiny little pieces. Because if the whole thing, if you imagine that it was an infinite pattern that just kept going forever, and then you cut a rectangle out of it somewhere, you would get tiny little pieces. So, good to include them. These can go over here. Needs to come down just a tiny bit so it doesn't touch the neighbor's circle. Don't touch the neighbor's circle. Leave a little bit of that green background. Now, looking at these edges here, I think I'm good, which means I can start to put in smaller pieces. Oh, I put adhesive on a different side of that than I planned, but that's okay. Because another thing that would happen if you had a big expanse of lots of different patterns, you would sometimes get two the same next to each other. So you don't have to fear that. It's okay. And then see, smaller pieces can fit in here. Stars up there. Stars here. Okay, so I've got those two left. Oh, and I've got one green little one. Let's put that in. Where can you go? Trade these around. No. Cut it in half. And take a small one off the edge. And then this one can come down here and do exactly the same thing, but I'll need to take two sides off and pop it in the corner. Okay, Melinda says, are there no smaller black pieces? Not yet, because I only punched with this one for the black. But there will be, don't worry. Yeah. Okay, so once we've got this space kind of filled with circles, these are all our bases. And we're going to add things on top of them. And we want to use this space to set the color scheme. So I have a color I haven't introduced yet, which is this one. I mean, it appears just a tiny bit there. And I want to bring in that black pattern as well. But I've got lots of other embellishments to include too. So let's have a look at what I had pulled out. So I have these, which are round. Wooden buttons, any kind of button that tends to be round, that works well. Enamel dots that are round, sequins are round, all of that can work. But I've got some things that are not round as well. I've got this, I wanted to use the black and white cameras in this set. I've got some stars here, and I've got some purple and aqua in this one. Okay. So again, I like to start with the things that are biggest. So if I start with this sheet, I can see something like this and find where it's going to fit nicely. And I don't ever at this stage really want to 100% commit, so I just kind of lay them in place. I've got tiny little circles like this that can just be their own piece. If they're the right color. I'm not sure that one is going to work. This one can. I might cover the center because I'm not sure how the pig is going to fit. Oh, actually, I can actually find a way for the pig to fit the story, but I still think it might get covered up. So that can fit nicely in there. Now, this one is a lovely color match, but it's too big to work up here, so it can work down here. Things like that are when you find something that's the right color, but it's not the right scale, not the right size, don't worry, it's not going to be completely useless at all. So I've got a purple arrow to go there. Other things that I've got, so I've got Christina prefers, because she doesn't want a die cutting machine, she uses her scissors to cut things, and I'm totally here for that, definitely. Christina is also thinking about this page with the circle paper from the Glitter Girl collection, and indeed all of my collections tend to have a circle paper because I find them really lovely. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a straight edge off the top of this. I'm pretty sure I'm happy with that. And then I can work in something like bringing a smaller circular element to that. This also needs an edge cut off. That can go flat here. Now, need something bigger than a wooden button to cover that centerpiece there. Okay, so I think I'm ready to cut into this one and the black floral to get my other layering pieces. And for that, I do really enjoy the bunches because I don't need them all to be circles at this point. I'm going to have one like that. And I'm going to put that one right up here. So how much needs to come off there? Like that. Okay, and then I can get some other shapes and sizes to punch out. things that might be relevant here. Not a snowflake. Stars definitely work. Pink circle always works. Labels always work. So let's have these three. And I've got my label on the desk already. Okay, so let's have a couple of these in both papers. Start there. Need a large element to go on that one. Tiny bit off the top edge there. So I'm just going to look for all the different ways that I can stack these different pieces up. Get some labels in the mix too, because although everything is a circle, it can really help to have pieces that are not a circle. So I'm going to do some from the B side here. And I realize, having said that out loud, that that may sound completely silly. It's all circles, but there are things that it helps them to not be a circle. Why? Why is that, Shimelle? Mostly because we crave balance. So we like a bit of random in a pattern, but we also don't want it to feel like it's some sort of thing that has motion and is going to cause problems. You know, we don't want it to kind of, you know, when a paper or a pattern does that thing to your eyes where you look at it and all of a sudden it's kind of moving. We don't want that. It's generally an unsettling feeling, yeah? So we try to balance patterns in a way that will keep that from happening. And to add in a horizontal element in the middle, or a rectangular element in the middle of something that has lots of circles helps us feel like there's grounding. It almost does, the way that it makes sense the most to my mind, may not to yours, but I'm going to tell you in case it also clicks for you. Imagine you're in a video game like Mario Brothers, and I've already lost some of you. I'm sorry, stick with me. So we walk along, do, 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 do. And sometimes in Mario Brothers, there's a big valley here, and the ground just cuts out. So you've either got to jump over, or you've got to find something to climb on. And the things that you know are safe to climb on are little bricks in the sky. Yeah, so you can jump onto them and you'll be fine. So I'm looking for a horizontal element that I can stand on, and that gives me stability. Yes? So if I have a sea of holes, if I have all of these circles, the things that are going to give some stability to the inner workings of my mind are horizontal elements. They are that thing that I can stand on. They are a bit of grounding. Okay, now you can tell me in the live chat if I've just gone one step too far and that makes zero sense, but it makes a lot of sense in my mind. Okay? So some will fit right inside with a tiny little border and look lovely. I get another one on there that's that size, so I could put something else inside. Yeah, this one. Do elements like this, bring that out on the horizontal. I've got that glittery blue here, so I feel like it needs to come here somewhere, but that's not really the right size and shape. So let's, oh, I could do the stars. So let's have a star. Oh, oh, don't do that. Where'd it go? Can you see it and I can't? There it is. Ah, adventure. Okay, so this one can go in here. And that's a dimensional punch, so it needs a little pop dot behind it so that it doesn't just flatten out. Oh, Sophia at least says Mario Brothers makes sense to her. Now I should have a longer label here. So that can go along there. And then let's have a look at these buttons. So I've got one there, one there. Bring in this purple one here. Now I will say that this technique uses up a lot of embellishments. That may be frightening to you depending on your stash and your habits. Sometimes those two things don't align. Sometimes you have enough stash to scrapbook heavily embellished from now until 2072, but you're still worried about using it. If that's you, I implore you to go ahead and get things in your album. Use the things that you have bought so that they are in your albums so that you can see them all the time and be so happy that you use them rather than keeping them in a box forever. However, if you don't have a lot of stash and you're terrified to use this much embellishment on one page because you instantly go, so much money on one page. I understand you and I have been you in the past. Please know there are ways around it. So if I didn't want to use a whole bunch of different wooden buttons because that's a pricier embellishment, what could I use instead? Paper scraps are always going to be my budget-friendly option, and I'm always going to have these tiny little pieces collecting in a basket. What can I do with them? Well, look how small I would need. I can take tiny little things. Also, if you have a stash that's been collecting over the years, don't be afraid to add those older things to your layout. Don't be saving them for a rainy day because you've already saved them for years and years and years. Go ahead and use them if you still like them. If you don't like them, pass them on to somebody else. Okay, right. That is my thought on that matter. But yeah, if you look at it and it feels like way too much in purchased embellishments, it's okay. Take a step back and then look at things like paper, okay? Right, so then I can bring in some black and white. Because when do I not like a bit of black and white? And yes, of course, Leaf Blower Man has decided to make a guest appearance today. Sophia says that Vicky often uses the line, do all the things, and that my ethos is use all the things. Yeah, use what you buy. And it's good advice for me too, which is partly why I tell you. Melinda is liking this now that there's more black involved, and I'm not even done adding the black, so there'll be more too. Oh, I still want to come up with something that's going to, I need something here, something here, something here. Now, it is okay to leave some of them plain. I was wondering about, could that work? But if I cover up the bottom, you're not going to know what it says. So maybe this comes up here. And sometimes you just want a piece like that just on its own. And then you add some enamel dots to it. So let's add the green here. Oh, no, let's take it outside the sticker. actually, why does the green look so much darker on there? Because they're a little bit translucent. So the darker background has made the color look a little more drab. So instead of that one, I'm going to use some purple, truer purple enamel dots. And I can just bring in shades that way, so I can bring in lavender. That looks much happier. Okay. So something to fit up here. Remember, I still have all of this part, but this part comes together pretty quickly. Need to trim that bottom edge. But otherwise, that will sort that bit. And then I can bring in the camera here. A little pop dot behind that. If a piece is small and you feel like it might get lost, that's a good place to add a pop dot. If there's not enough room to add much to a circle, but you feel like it needs something, add tiny enamel dots. Let's come over here and here. So we have more of these stars, and I've got a smaller star here too. So let's see. This punch is from way back in the day, but I still like this shape. Put a star in the middle of some small circles. When you find two punches that fit together nicely or two shapes that fit together nicely, there's no reason not to continue to use it. So I've repeated the star here. I repeated the pink circle in that shape there. Don't have a third place to put that right now. That's okay. What about a bigger text piece like this? Coming up here. That'll stay there. Curious if this is too yellow. I think yes. Okay. Has a purple edge, but didn't really want to bring in a whole another color, so that's okay. Oh, actually, that little green star can go there. Go. Build, build, build. Yes, I've got a pink camera. Sit here. Another black and white camera here. So all the black and whites, yes. Can use a piece like this in the filler space. And they don't need to repeat a million times. They don't need to match lots of things. It's all good. So what could I put over here with this one? Well, it needs a larger element. Whoop, that did not stick to the glitter. So I've got a large star here, so I don't really want to put one there. But add in purple dots there. I got this edge from that could come up here. That's not so bad. Maybe this one goes there. Now, last bit of this. Look at the little gaps in here and add in dots. Doesn't always need to be in threes, but you know, I tend to do them that way. Okay, I promise the other part of the page comes together really quickly. I know this is a lot of time spent on this third, but it's quite enjoyable. Like spending that much time using up a bunch of embellishments that you've held on to for a while can be really nice. And when you do it, you don't need to worry about having an audience, so you can take your time. This is great, like watch a movie or listen to an audiobook kind of scrapbooking, or whatever your multitasking favorite is. Okay, almost done. I could keep going, but should I leave it there? Okay, I think that's good. Right, now, so at this point, it is one big display of embellishment. Yeah? Time to turn it into an actual scrapbook page. So I've got my green border that's going to go along this edge here. Is this 12 or not 12? I think it goes all the way. So you could take that all the way across, or you can trim it to meet your edge there. Like that. Photo. Go back to the background that you had up here. And a mat for that. And if you want to use your additional colors, you can. So I'm going to add a layer of that black floral because that gives me this bit of grounding. Where did I put it? Oh, there. I'm looking at the B side. And then I can use the blue as an accent color rather than a whole mat. Don't feel like you've got to stack every single color up in a paper stack or a mat around a photo. You can use one or more colors just in the accents rather than the outlines. This is going to come over here. If your photo is facing the other way, put it the other side. Just mirror everything. Yeah. And then I need something to journal on. So I go back to all my papers and figure out, oh, that one doesn't have a journaling space. And I can go back and see, which one would be best for writing on. Or I can decide to pick something else, or I can decide to write straight onto the background. And that would be my process for figuring out what am I going to journal on this layout. I can also look at the embellishments I've got here. So I have journaling stickers here, but they're not the stickers that I want to use. So the other thing I can do is pull out a journaling card in either plain black and white or a color that I've already introduced into my color scheme. So that would be the purple, the green, or that blue. So of course, those are not the colors I'm seeing straight away. Here we go, got one. And I actually kind of like this to that side there. So that's going to be my journaling space. Of course, your journaling could always be a plain white block too. Title's going to come up here. Now, talking about accent colors, I've got my accent color in lettering. I've also got small ones in black and white, and I've got some large letters that are already words. Yeah. I was going to go with a smiley title, but then I realized, I mean, I see this as a smile, but other people, when they look at the album, might not think that's a smiley page or a smiley photo, so maybe a different word comes in more useful. So going with this one. Boop, okay. Now, how can I make it fit? Right along there. Yep, because I can go right over the top of the photo in this corner. If there was important stuff right here, I couldn't, but I can because I can see everything that's there. It's fine. Okay, so I'm going to play off this, starting with fan, and make it super fan. Yeah. So I'm going to see if super would fit, because these are quite small. They're very narrow. If I can't make it work, then I can do it in little black and white. But I think I can do it in the turquoise. Yeah. I do today in this, yeah. And see, black and white letters to pick up on that black floral paper again. Okay, so I've got space to add my journaling in there. Now, making this color scheme fit throughout. Now, I do love this, but I think it's going to be too big. So this is a nicer scale, and I've got another little box that can go with it. Purple one. Can I make this fit in here? I can cut this bottom edge down a little bit. This one can go behind the green but above the black. And then this one next to it, overlap, so that this one then goes right over the top here. Okay, but those are both rectangles. How do I get the circle element to go from there to here? So take the pieces that I have left. So I've got a circle that I want to come in here. I know that's purple on purple. It's okay. I can also try this one here. I know this one will work. So I'm going to tuck that so that it disappears behind those letters. And then bring, this one could even go in there, but I'm going to bring it down right to this corner here. Oh, I'm going to put the circle behind it. Yeah. Let's cut a little bit off there and layer that one over to the side. So here I'm offsetting more like this one than these where they're stacked. Okay, go back to the same sorts of embellishments. So could I pop one of these into this grouping? I think the ice cream is the best color match there. I've got a camera already, so that repeats from there. And my purple dots are here. So let's do a set in here. And then a set down here. And maybe even a third one over here. Yeah. Okay. Sophia says, this is feeling like a 3D DIY version of 1/3 busy paper, 2/3 not busy paper in terms of layout design. And that's exactly it. So it is a more time intensive and stash intensive way of doing it. So some days you'll want to do this and just have that be a pattern paper and be done with it. And some days you'll feel like, actually, no, I want to build and I want to put all the things together. And then you make something like this. And it feels very special when you turn the page and you get to something like that in your album. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. And that is why I repeat it every couple years. I do a different take on it because I love turning pages in my album and having a special page like that turn up and be like, oh, and I remember I then have lots of happiness both from the story that I've scrapbooked, but also remembering making a page that felt a bit special. All of those things go together. So have a last look through different bits of stash that you've used up at the top and see if you can bring any of them down here. So I had one of these left over that I used up there. So I might as well bring it down here. Journaling's going to go on there. Do I have any other pieces aside from that big one? Which if I didn't add a green journaling card here, I could fit this in here or something, but I think it would compete with him. I mean, that cloud is almost as big as his head. So I think in this case, it's not the best one. But I can do some green here to bring in the journaling. Finish it over here. Just dress up the dress up the journaling card a little bit. In fact, I'm going to bring these off so I have a little bit more room. So it feels like I can write right down to the bottom of the card. Okay. So I think that aside from adding journaling here, that's where I'm going to finish this one. But you could add in more tabs and things if you've got little labels that, in fact, I can punch a label and show it to you there. Why not? Hold on. I said I was done, but apparently I'm not. That paper is hard to punch through. Okay. So a label like this. But notice I haven't put things on angles, so I don't want to start putting that on an angle. It's going to feel like the one thing that's on an angle, and then you're automatically going to think, oh, the adhesive has fallen off. So straighten that up. Yeah. And then whatever you want to add on there, you might need to then add another button or circle. Anytime you add another thing on a page like this, you're going to want to add more stuff to it because now you're in a pattern of adding stuff. All right, so that is where we get to just journaling to go there. Now you could add mist to a page like this as well, or you can leave it plain. I'm going to go ahead and leave this one without, I believe. You could add in things like sequins rather than just enamel dots. So little sequins in there, but I was feeling like with the turquoise glitter that gold wasn't the best combination here. It wouldn't be horrible, but I just kind of wanted to focus more on that color scheme that I'd set of the purple, green, and turquoise. Cool. Right. those of you who are live right now, any more questions on purple that you would like me to answer, this is your time to put them in the chat. If you are watching on the forum, you can add it there. Or if you didn't realize that you can see the live chat, if you're watching on the forum, I should have said this at the beginning, I'm sorry. Click through on the bottom right-hand corner of the video where it says watch on YouTube. And then you'll be able, and you may not see that at first. Hover over it and click at the bottom right-hand corner of the video. And then it'll take you over and the chat will load up there so that you can see people who are here live and talking about it. All right. Okay. Sophia loves that the top is like a crafty explosion, but it's separated from the photo, because it's backed on a simple paper so it doesn't overwhelm. Yeah, I really think that the trick to doing something like this and having the focus still be on your photo is to be able to box it out and contain it. This is in a container. It lives here and says, this page is special, but this is where the story is. And you could do more photos down here, because look, I could do 2 photos across here and put my journaling in this space here. So you can rearrange this to suit the needs of your pictures. Okay, just double check that we don't have anything else on the forum. And I've just seen one chat come up on the live chat there. Okay, nothing on the forum. Tisha says, question, how would you make this layout more glam for prom? I would swap, unless somebody's in a turquoise dress, I would swap the turquoise for silver or gold or white iridescent, depending on the dresses and things in the pictures or the decorations in the pictures. I would look at more elegant, more formal types of paper that you could mix in here. So I've got quite a cartoony floral, and I've got very simple, casual patterns. Stars, polka dots are always informal. If you want it to feel more glamorous, then you need to replace that with things that are a little more elegant. Yeah. So a cartoony camera may not be the elegant look that you are looking for. You might want to swap out stars for hearts if you haven't gone to prom as friends. But stars with some prom themes could still really work. Also, this in like navy blue and silver or navy blue and gold is going to feel more glamorous too. Does that help? Autumn says, question, will you go over indigo, lavender, etc.? Where does blue end and purple stop or start? And Sophia says, I know. And then there's red at the end of that scale too, is maroon, purple as well. So yes, just like I brought out all my blues, I bring out all my purples in the purple ink. But we can talk about that a little bit right now as well. Just a moment here. So one thing that's really interesting about this study of the rainbow is that different parts of the world define the colors of the rainbow in a different way. And I don't just mean that the translation of the word is different. I mean that not every part of the world has 7 colors in their rainbow. Some areas of the world separate blue-green from blue and green. Like we're always kind of like, where does turquoise fit? And some parts of the world do that. And there is a very funny reason why in the Western world our rainbow has 7 colors, why we have Roy G. Biv. Now, we are all looking at the same spectrum of the rainbow, but because they're not defined lines, because they are fluid, it's up to interpretation as to how we do that. Yeah, because the real rainbow is not how we draw it with 7 different pens. Genius. And so the rainbow that we know, the Roy G. Biv rainbow, is the Newtonian rainbow, as in Isaac Newton. And there was a lot of superstition about numbers. So he went with 7 because that was safest. Yeah. How lovely is that? The whole reason that we believe there are 7 colors in the rainbow is because somebody was a little upset that people might think that things were unlucky or haunted or whatever, you know. Science. Hey, so we have 7 colors because of superstition. So you have absolute permission to define those colors as you see them. It's okay. One of the things that I find really strange in my ink collection is that I don't have a color that looks like red wine. And would we call that red? Would we call it purple? Maroon is a hard one. Essentially, it can be red with a fair amount of black added to it, but it's a blue toned red, not an orange toned red. So essentially it's creating some purple in there. And that is the fun of mixing different colors, that you're going to get things that you don't just see in that 7 different magic marker lines in a rainbow. But as far as indigo and violet and lavender. So lavender is just purple in a lighter shade or lighter tint. So you're adding white, or you're starting with white and you're adding a little bit of purple to it. Okay. That's going to give you lavender. This is also a language thing, because in this country, in the UK, a lot of people will say lilac, and that's not a color that you largely hear in the States. Now, if somebody says lilac in the States, I think we're pretty much going to get to the same point, which is it's a light purple, but it's not a color that we constantly talk about. Whereas if I had this pattern paper out in this country and I said to somebody who's not a scrapbooker, what 2 colors are those? Somebody would probably say purple and lilac, where Americans would definitely go lavender before they would go lilac, I think. Most Americans. So lavender and lilac can be very similar. The one that comes out really different, we say it differently, we mean an entirely different color, so I don't use it at all. I'm going to write it down because everybody pronounces it differently. Whoops. This word. Is it mauve? Is it mauve? And is it a pinky purple? Or is it an outright almost royal purple? Because it's not consistent. It's 100% not consistent. One of the very first things I did when I came over here was go to a wedding, and I needed to know what to pack because I wasn't taking all of my belongings yet. And I said, you know, what color is the wedding, so that I don't accidentally bring my only dress in the same color that the bridesmaids are wearing or something. And everybody said, oh, it's mauve. And I went with my American definition of mauve, which was kind of a pink with a tiny bit of purple to it. And I thought that was fine. And what I wore was fine because I ended up wearing gray. But the bridesmaids walked down the aisle in properly dark purple. What? That's not mauve. That's not mauve. Mauve. Anyway, so things like that do get very confusing. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, just looking at the follow-up questions there. So indigo, however, is easier to define. Take a deep breath. Denim. Blue jeans, yeah? Blue jeans that haven't been treated to look like they're old and battered. Just that brand new navy blue denim. That's indigo. And we even call the dye that we use to do that is an indigo dye. So it's an indigo dye on cotton, and a cotton that's been processed to be quite thick. Yeah. So it's essentially a navy blue that's edging toward purple more than it's edging toward green. Yeah. That's indigo. And that's why it gets a little confusing, because it's not a color that we talk about a lot, but it's actually a color that we see all the time because we see denim a lot. In most of the world now, we see denim a lot. I suppose there was a time when we didn't, but now we do. So yeah, it's that specific color. It's a purpley navy blue. But then this is more a true violet. And I do use the category of purple because I think then we can use that to say lavender and lilac certain kinds of mauve and going right up to an indigo, and just feel like you don't have to make a harsh line in the sand to say this is a blue and this is a purple. It's okay. It's all right for it to blend, because remember, the rainbow blends. Okay. I'm going to stop on that question there. Yeah, Sophia points out that indigo dye is used in Japanese fabric dye pattern techniques. Yeah. So you'll see beautiful like shibori dyeing, where it's kind of a beautifully elegant tie-dye. Do those two things go together? I mean, I don't think of elegant with tie-dye, but shibori dye definitely can feel very elegant. Yeah. Are purple and violet the same color? Asks Amy. So purple is a word that we have given to that family of colors. So violet is a purple. Yeah? Okay. Christina says, I found older generations in New Zealand talk about mauve instead of the word purple. And that maybe it was people from the upper class would say mauve and lower class would call it purple. This is a really interesting theory, because that would make a lot of sense, that then that would filter down to a working class who used the word in order to sound more middle class. And the Americans have just switched off because they don't have this concept in the same sort of format. But yes, I don't know the etymology there, but that makes sense. Putting it with my mauve bridesmaids dresses, that could definitely make sense generational, because I'm thinking of the person who told me that, and they were definitely like grandparent generation, not the young people. Interesting. Okay. Amy, yes, all violets are purple, but not all purples are violet. Yes, that's exactly it. So purple is my umbrella, and I think generally used as an umbrella for all of those tones at that end of the rainbow. Yeah, indigo and violet, including the light ones like lavender, lilac, wisteria. Yeah. Okay. And then there was a follow-up question about okay. So Christina wants to go back to this idea with the prom question. And I said that, polka dots I see as casual and doodly styles as casual. And she's never seen she's never kind of defined patterns as casual or elegant. So let me see if I can find you an example. I will say that 95% of the stuff I use, I would consider casual. I don't use a lot of formal design, like formal patterns. Because they don't tend to match the stories that I'm telling. I tell a lot of everyday stories, not a lot of super fancy. Okay, but here's a good example. So, Maggie's florals. Oop. The next sheet was acetate, so it just jumped out of the cupboard. These are more formal floral design, more elegant than my black pattern paper. Where'd it go? Here. Than this floral. Yeah? This is more casual. Those are more elegant. Yeah? So a more vintage type floral would count as a more elegant thing. So, crepe paper is an interesting one, because they do seamlessly mix a lot that is formal and casual together in their different collections. But I would say Maggie's, like if you compare Vicky, Paige, and Maggie's collections and Jen Hadfield's collections, Maggie is the most formal of all of them by far. This is an old paper, but designs like this definitely read as elegant to me, not casual. I mean, I can use them in a casual way, but they feel quite, that feels, well, I don't think I would use this pattern. I'm not a great fan of houndstooth. But I would use that, but it does feel quite dressy to me. But I would put it with something like, it might not be a super formal event, but in a place that feels formal, because here with really old buildings and things like that, sometimes the background feels formal, even though the event, it might just be a picnic you know, at a castle. It's like a dichotomy there of where do you go. And so I might mix something like this with polka dots. So the polka dots would be the casual of the picnic, and the scrolls would be the formal of the castle. Does that help? Yeah, wallpaper feels more formal. Yeah, so Amy's saying, ask yourself if a pattern paper could be a wallpaper in not a children's room. And then it probably feels more formal. That's a really interesting way to look at it. Yeah. I'm flipping through things and I have so much more casual than elegant. But yeah, I think my biggest stash of things I would consider elegant would be my Maggie stuff. Yeah. Cool. And Kirsty asks, not a color question, but how do you handle letters that have no vowels left? You got to mix them up or get rid. Those are your options. Don't overthink this. If you don't love the alphabet and it's going to bother you a little bit, then get rid of it. Pass it on or put it in the bin. You can find a way. If it's something that you have the same alpha or a similar alpha or a very contrasting alpha but in a good size to mix with it, and you can do multiple styles in one word, then you can get a little bit more of it like that. But if you've done all the vowels, I think you get to say that it's done. Kirsty says that's so expensive. Then you are somebody who could then benefit from having a way to cut letters instead of buying letter stickers. I actually end up finding once I use the vowels, I don't have that many consonants left either, but those can change a lot depending on what kind of titles that you're using. Yeah. I mean, you can Frankenstein letters a bit. You can try and figure out where you can cut things to make them work. But yeah, I would try to set things free. Okay. Any other questions before we go? Just checking, make sure there's nothing else added on the forum. Nope, we've answered those. And there's kind of more detailed stuff coming on those as well. Okay, I think that's where we're done then. So journaling is just going to go in there in black, and then this can either come off or I can add in a little caption. I won't decide until I've done this so that I know if there's something missing from, like if I didn't have room to say where we were, I could put it in here. Oh, last thing about just consonants. Consonants could be abbreviations for places if there's anything like that. And yeah, Christina says schools will kindly take them. Scout troops, guides, things like that, or children's wards at hospitals, because kids have far less trouble mixing one set of stickers with another set of stickers. They're happy to do that. And also that with little ones that are learning to read, yeah, letter stickers, great for literacy lessons, and you don't need the whole thing on any given sheet. It's okay, because you're just going to mix and match your supplies. But yep, Autumn says, get a sidekick and a couple sets of alphabet dies, and then just always cut your titles. That is going, like, you've got more outlay at the beginning, but it is over time going to be super useful if you don't mind having the same fonts all the time. And Sophia says, I believe Glitter Girl did a video about using multiple partial alphabets. I believe she might have too. Okay. All right, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for joining me. So we have 2 more purple videos, and then next week we go into pink. And I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much. See you soon.